Hey guys.
If you want to start, and then I can just keep letting people in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so quick introduction. We have Lorna, the CMO of AI portfolio business EyeQuant, and she'll be teaching us how to apply the principles of neuroscience to design, product, and marketing.
Thanks, Lee. So we joined the Founders Factory a few months ago. We've been working on some exciting projects. And I want to talk about how that then translates into a really cool kind of opportunity for you guys for attending this session as well. But first of all, this is the most awkward slide ever. This is me. I'm the CMO at EyeQuant. Before working as the CMO at EyeQuant, way back when, I used to do psychology because I've always been fascinated by the human brain, how we process information, how we select information subconsciously. A lot of the decision making that happens day in, day out is subconscious, but is really influenced by lots of different factors that we're just not aware of. And from a psychological perspective, once you understand what those principles are, and from a marketing perspective, you've got a very, very powerful opportunity to influence decision making. With innovations in artificial intelligence and data processing, we're now able to really instantly see and mimic how the brain works. And that's helping lots of businesses improve their user experiences. So today, I'd love to talk about neuroscience and how we're seeing companies creating really, really compelling, high-performing digital products. So when I say digital products, that can be websites, even email campaigns, digital products itself. So if you've got an app, so anything digital that you are creating and a user is interacting with is a digital product that has the opportunity to create a very, very nice user experience. And unfortunately, sometimes we do a terrible job at it. We do, hands up, I make the same mistakes. But I think a good way of actually understanding principles like cognitive load and design and visual hierarchy is to take a look at live examples. So we'll be having a look at who's doing it really well and who's not doing it so well, and hopefully learning from those analyses and then looking at the results. So when we talk about user experience, often people think it's a bit waffly. Great user experience. How does that translate into more revenue, more clicks, etc.? But the data and the research is there, that better user experiences breed better loyalty, and that's better for any profitable relationship that you'll have with your users and customers. And then we can talk about the 7-day free trial, which is new, brand new to EyeQuant. We hadn't offered this before, and this is the result of making the analytics and the data more available to smaller businesses. In hindsight, I can't believe we were pricing out smaller businesses and not giving them the immediate instant results that they need to be able to build really high performing digital products. So I can talk a bit about that. And then at the end, or even throughout, if you've got any questions, feel free to submit them at the bottom and I'll try my best to answer them. So first things first, the first step to creating compelling digital experiences is to understand how our brains select information. So at any given second, there's over 100 billion pieces of information being bombarded at your visual cortex at any given second, right? So no wonder at the end of the day, you feel a little bit tired. And that's not even just during the waking day. Your brain is still processing information whilst you sleep. So your brain is computing a hell of a lot of information. And what we are doing when we're designing new interactions and new landing pages is asking the brain to do even more work. And the best way of actually influencing attention and perception is by understanding the fundamental processes that are happening at any given second. So I'll give you a second to read this, and hopefully you'll read it like I read it, and like the majority of people do read it. You will read this first, as highlighted by the green arrow. Then you will read this, so the second line, and then the third line, you'll read this, and then you'll go to the top and you'll read the very last sentence, the very first sentence last. And what the majority of user experiences and website pages have done in the past is use a kind of a blueprint from books, from novels. You start top left to right, especially in Western cultures, and you put your most important information at the top, assuming that that's going to be seen first. But actually, visual hierarchy, by changing elements of a design, enables you to really manipulate and influence what is seen first, and what is fixated on. As you can see here, this is the heat mapping output of fixation points and where people look and how long they spend looking somewhere. So it's just an illustration of how important it is to not just fall into traditional kind of blueprints for design, but really understanding the things like contrast, luminance, spacing, density, padding. All of these things can really influence what is seen first. And often, if you're not analysing that, you're, excuse the pun, but you're operating blind. You don't know what is going to be seen. So that's the beauty of artificial intelligence and predictive eye tracking. It enables you to take that analyses and have a look first, so you can see and make sure that the most important content is actually recognizable. Here is another illustration. It's actually an optical illusion. What do you see? Well, I see a cube. And the reason I see a cube rather than that 6, 7, 8 dots is because there's two processes happening simultaneously in the visual cortex. So the bottom-up process focuses on sensory information and data, and that's showing you that there are white dots on a black background, and those white dots have got black lines in them. Whereas the top-down process is more schematic and contextualized knowledge that you've learned. So your brain is literally filling in the gaps. You're seeing a cube, or you can at least see a cube, because your brain is making those assumptions. So this illustration shows that what you put down on paper, or what you actually create in WordPress or in Canva, or whatever your design platform is, isn't necessarily what is perceived. And there's a big difference between what you want to communicate and how it's perceived. And that really is the key to understanding how you can create a very good user experience. The other thing, and I think it's very closely linked to obviously those principles, the bottom up, top down, that your brain is working very, very hard all of the time, whether you like to admit it or you're aware of it or not. And what makes it even more challenging to understand what is going on and how to interact with a new product or a new website or an email is if there is clutter. This is a picture of my garage. I wish I had a garage, I don't. So this is just to illustrate what clutter is. Right, we're all familiar with it. You get it in your house, your desk, your minds can become cluttered. And I don't know about you, but when I am surrounded in a cluttered environment, I feel a little bit agitated. I don't know where my keys are. I don't know where the most important things are to me. It's harder for me to locate those things. And that is exactly what is happening when we create digital experiences that have got a lot of cognitive clutter and design clutter. And unfortunately, because we work in companies and we are people, and people have opinions. It's too common that a design happens by kind of design by committee, right? You'll have your legal or compliance team saying we need to have a pop-up for GDPR, a new one. You'll have your marketing team saying this is our latest piece of content, we need a banner on your homepage. And you'll have your product team saying these are the latest features and functionality we need to announce it. And then you've got an experience that is really, really cluttered and not conducive to a good user experience. So we know there's a lot of research, scientific research, sorry, I'm just listening to that really loud helicopter, which is causing a lot of cognitive clutter right now. Great illustration. So we know from the science, and there's lots of papers on this, and we work very closely with the University of Osnabrück in Germany on looking into the importance of saliency. But essentially, you can read this quote here. This is taken from a research paper. Saliency affects fixation locations and durations. So where you look and how long you're looking for is affected by visual saliency. The good news is we can predict exactly where people are going to look and how long they're going to look for. The even better news is that duration and location of fixation points is predictive of choices. So what does that mean in layman's terms? That means that if you can see something clearly and you've got that context of the value, you are more likely to be able to act on that. You are able to select that. So again, bringing it back to our everyday lives, if I can clearly see a call to action and I've clicked through to various different pages and I'm on the final stage of a checkout, if I can clearly see that call to action and it's immediately visible within the first 3 to 5 seconds, chances are I'm going to complete that purchase. Whereas often that's not immediately visible, and sometimes that is intentional. I say Ryanair is the worst for it. They use very different cognitive tricks and biases to actually trick you into clicking buttons to add more luggage, which costs you more. So that's an intentional use of cognitive principles to trick you into buying more. That's not a good user experience. That's not what I want to do. I want to complete that specific task. So it's really, really important to be able to use data around saliency, around fixation points and durations to be able to create a real effortless user experience. And just in case you were questioning any of that, we've done our own research. Again, as I said, we work very closely with the professors and very, very incredibly smart people, data scientists and neuroscientists who have helped us create studies that demonstrate the importance of clarity. So EyeQuant is a predictive artificial intelligence that identifies what's going to be seen and missed within the first 3 to 5 seconds. It also produces emotional scores and clarity scores like what we've discussed previously. And we found the higher the clarity score results in the lower the cognitive load, making it easier to buy. So it's one thing improving the path to purchase, but actually, if you've got an issue with, say, bounce rate, we know that there's a solid correlation between a high clarity score, so something that is really clean and crisp and very easy to navigate, has a much lower bounce rate, whereas a landing page or a user interface that has got a low clarity score, meaning that it's really quite taxing to understand where they go next to complete their task, has a very, very high bounce rate. And if you think about the two processes we discussed earlier, the top down and bottom up, the kind of the learnt behavior is exactly, you've come from one page, you landed on another. If you can't see your next step or your next action because there's too much competing for your attention, you're more than likely to actually go back the way you came, because you know that you've learned that that is the way that you actually entered that experience or that page. So if you are sat here today and going, you know what, I think we could actually improve our bounce rate. The good news is you have access to, or you will have access to EyeQuant for a week, and you can immediately calculate your clarity score to see where you actually sit. You can have a look at competitors, but also the map will highlight the elements that are actually contributing to cognitive load. And I'll show you a few examples here of how our customers have used that data in the past to really improve the user experience. Let me just see, does anybody have any questions? No, I just checked, that's fine. Great, I'll go on to the examples. So this is the Sears landing page, or homepage rather, pretty standard, right? It's nothing out of the ordinary. You've got your navigation at the top, the shopping basket top right, you've got your main banner, you've got a little promo sticking out here to get a free 2-day shipping, and then you've got some more products lower down, slightly below the fold. Looks like a pretty standard page, right? And it is, but the issue is that you can see here, there's quite a lot of cognitive load. There's quite a lot of clutter, so that's highlighted in red. And what Sears would do with this information is ask, is that, for example, there's a lot of red in this imagery here. Is this image that they've selected really important or the most suitable image for that specific product? Because you've got a lot of sharp edges, lot of contrast, a lot of kind of clutter, it's actually detracting from the main call to action here. And we see this quite a lot. There is this ongoing debate around copy versus imagery and how they can actually work really well together. But often they're not created at the same time. And for the same purpose. So it's almost like an afterthought. And as a result, you get that conflict and that competition for attention. And that often results in a negative experience. The most successful websites, and these are some really useful tips for reducing clutter. You can see that by reducing unnecessary text, from an evolutionary perspective, we're usually born with the ability to see. We're not born innately with the ability to read copy. That is something that is learned over a number of years. It's a relatively modern construct, written communication. So writing and copywriting and good copy is very, very important for influencing your users, but it shouldn't come at a price for the overall customer experience. So reducing unnecessary text. Can you say the same thing in less words? If so, do that. Use images. So images are really, really important because I think that the saying is, what is it? A photo speaks 1,000 words, something like that. You know what I'm saying. You can instantly get a feeling and a tone for a brand depending on their imagery and the visuals that they use. It's really, really important so that then marries with the copy and supports that. And as I said, I think the image that we've just looked at kind of detracts from the key value proposition around that specific product. There's quite a few other product images that they could have used that would have been less attention seeking, but still been able to communicate that that is a barbecue. And increase white space or padding. So often you'll see that copy is actually not in a uniformed way, and you've got different sizes, contrast, colors. All of that adds to the cognitive load. You're asking the brain to process a lot of information, whereas if you can create it in more of a uniformed way, it's easier for the brain to then self-serve and select the copy that it wants to read. And that's a great use of, or the ability to do that, is creating content blocks rather than huge paragraphs of copy. Is another great way of actually reducing that, making it easier for users to actually interpret and navigate. On the left-hand side, you can see some clarity scores and excitingness scores of software companies. So we did a benchmark report recently, and we found that there's lots of different averages for different industries. So for example, if you're a gaming or gambling website, usually your excitingness score, which is the amount of stimulation, visual stimulation that a website will elicit, is really high, like 99%. It's like between 80 and 90, I think the average is for gaming and gambling websites. And that's because usually you'd use design hacks and tactics to elicit adrenaline and highly stimulating experiences. Whereas we have lots of pharmaceutical and insurance companies that want the complete opposite. They want to create a very calm decision-making process and environment so that people can select the right products for them. And as a result, they look for an excitingness score of around 30. And similarly with clarity, you'll see some of the best brands in the world have very, very high clarity scores. Probably the best well-known is Apple, right? I think they've led with the philosophy about why have 3 clicks when you can have 1, or remove the click and just have a tap. You can see from the website design, the amount of white spacing that Apple have really, really nailed clarity, visual clarity as a differentiator as a brand, and they're doing pretty well. So I think if you're going to follow anybody, or you can be looking for evidence to say that it is successful when you're looking at clarity, I think Apple is a great brand to be able to benchmark yourselves against. We also have another example here. So you can see on the left-hand side, version A, on the right-hand side, version B. So the only difference, if I was to look very quickly, I'd say probably the image, the product image is slightly bigger, but in actual fact, there's been some other subtle changes to the right-hand side. And the content and the call to action on the right-hand side to the main product image has actually been optimized for the eye flow. So to track and look at the image first, and then to track down the page. And that's optimized for the 3 Ws. So the 3 Ws is a principle of what is it? Why should I care? Where should I go next? So as long as those 3 Ws are seen within the first 3 seconds, you've got the recipe for a pretty successful high converting landing page. And if I click on the next page, you'll see there that that's exactly what's happened. This is, again, perception data. So it's predictive eye tracking data that highlights what is seen and what is most likely missed. So just by making a very, very subtle change to the version B, they've actually influenced attention, and it's distributed moreover to the value proposition or the description of the product and the call to action, which is really, really important when you're looking for goal completion, whether that's from e-commerce or whether that's from interacting with your app or completing a call to action within an email campaign that you've sent out. All of the principles are the same. If you've got why, what is it, why should they care, and where do they go next, all visible within the first 3 seconds, you're going to have much more successful campaigns. And this is probably my favorite one. Groupon saw incredible results from this. So on the left-hand side, you'll see and don't worry about the language unless you are German, you'll see the original landing page. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see what they changed the design to as a result of of that information and that data. And similarly to the other example that we ran through earlier, you can see that the headline image, I think it's sushi. It's really eye-catching, and it's taking a lot of attention. And so is this image here at the bottom right. You've got the two people in the cinema, and none of what it is that they're talking about, why they should care, all the call to action, where to go next, is seen. So they made certain changes to the visual hierarchy, removed some of the unnecessary clutter, and as a result, you can see it was a 52% increase in conversion rate just on making these changes. And if you're e-commerce, if you're any business, you're whatever time you spend designing, building, launching, and then paying for promotion, like it's so costly to do this without looking at analyses first. So number one benefit, 52% increase in conversion rate, great. That's absolutely fantastic. But if you think about it from a broader perspective, the design process is much shorter because they're using data to make those decisions to get final sign-off. It's no longer people subjectively saying, well, no, I think we should include this banner and I think we should include this pop-up. It's based on data. So that means those design processes are much shorter, which means that they're more cost effective to you as a business, especially if you're a startup. Often too many conversations are elongated, when actually, if you just look at the data, you can shorten it, you can be far more agile, and you can start testing and learning from that, from that data more effectively. And then the third and final benefit is the improved user experience, which arguably is reflected in the 52% increase, but actually in a broader context, if it is a joy, if you're crafting a digital experience that is really enjoyable and easy to do business with, the likelihood is that they're going to come back. So they're going to repeat purchase, or they're going to be an advocate, or they're going to stick with you longer. This is a profitable relationship that you're building. It's not just a new landing page or an email. Like, the importance of design is really fundamental to differentiating and creating those relationships that used to be harnessed when you'd walk into the shop or a storefront, or you talk to people. But unfortunately, we no longer have the time or the money to be able to work on the high street. We have to facilitate really good customer experiences online. And the people that are doing it really, really well are those that are using neuroscience to understand how attention is influenced by these certain design elements. So that is it. I've sped through really, really quickly to most of that content, but I hope it's been useful. The final thing before we go into questions was the 7-day free trial. So thanks to working with the Founders Factory, we have created a package specifically for startups and smaller businesses. So it's individual users can log on and now start using for free the first 7 days predictive eye tracking data, so that you can gauge how exciting, how clear of your designs are, and there's lots of other reports in there as well. But essentially you get that for 7 days as a result of us joining Founders Factory and you joining this session today. So that's the link. We'll send it out in an email shortly, but I'm looking forward to hearing if you've got any questions, but also looking forward to hearing feedback as well when you actually start trialing the tool. So now we're on for questions, if anybody has any questions.
I'll ask a question. So,
Thanks,
well, as well as website experiences, what else, is neuroscience applicable for, and is EyeQuant, applied to by your users? So
everything. So the most challenging part of my job as the CMO is that the analytics are so versatile. So we've got the likes of JLL using this visual attention data to optimize Tableau dashboards. So if you think about the amount of important business information that every business, financial services, most specifically, have to process, the principle is the same, right? They want the most important information to be seen immediately, especially if people are on the go. So they use EyeQuant's analytics to be able to optimize dashboard designs. We also have people, agencies and FMCG companies using it for merchandising, point of sale. So when you're actually at checkout, having a look at how the packaging, how the layout on menus actually is influenced by attention. And then the majority of our customers are either agencies or direct to consumer companies that are looking to optimize the entire digital user journey. So websites, emails, so your onboarding emails, your actual platform usage. An example would be Intuit, for example, using the data to optimize where the help button is, so that instead of people trying to reach out or creating Zendesk queries, you can immediately self-serve content. So yeah, I wish it was a very simple, clear answer, but actually we've got so many customers using it for lots of different ways.
Cool. There's a question in the chat. So, is it Martin?
Yes. Hey, hello, everybody. Thanks for the presentation, Lorna. I didn't get to see all of it, so I hope I didn't miss too much. But a question I would have is that we're in physical retail, but it's tech-powered. So we install cameras and sensors in the ceiling that we can track consumer behavior. And for us, it's really interesting to see the reactions of products and brands and how we kind of showcase it. So have you ever had any experience in physical retail and maybe camera analytics and behavior in the real world?
It's something that's been asked a lot more recently. We have done the in-store optimization, so people can upload a photo of shelves and how they've prioritized the certain products, and then you can analyze. You can use EyeQuant to analyze what's going to grab attention and what's not going to grab attention. We've not yet done that kind of closed loop of behavioral actual purchasing with the predictive data, but it's definitely something that we could look into in the future. At the moment, we're focusing on digital because it's easier to track those conversions and those clicks, and have those correlation studies. But it's a really fascinating area. We also had a lot of inquiries and ongoing discussions with automotive companies that want to optimize dashboards, so that pilots and drivers can actually understand the important information at a fraction of a second. So yeah, can you think of any use cases or reasons to use EyeQuant yourself?
Probably I would have to, when you send around the presentation, have another look at it, just because I kind of had to hop in and out a little bit. Sorry for that. But I think I heard a couple of things that could be really interesting for us, because with Blank, we're bringing together the online and the offline shopping world. And we're also, with the tracking that we're doing, we're also creating our own dashboard for the brands to see what the performance is in the actual physical store. So it's almost like a Google Analytics for physical retail. And we also play around with the brand showcases. So sometimes we do A/B testing, show a different product, maybe position it a little bit higher, a little bit lower, do this and that. So I think maybe if you're open, we could just have a chat on a separate note and kind of look into if there's a good match to try something out. So we're active in Germany at this moment. And I think you mentioned something about Germany as well, but due to Founders Factory and Marks and Spencer being invested. We're also planning something in London. So yeah, maybe we can just have a chat in the next week or 2 weeks or something like this.
Definitely. So the session's recorded, so you'll be able to see the slides that you missed. Yeah, interested in picking up that conversation. The point around A/B split testing, this is exactly what EyeQuant, regardless of the actual application, that's exactly what EyeQuant is designed for. So it's pre-live or pre-actual testing. So you can split test essentially before you've got that performance data, which means that your version A and your version B are already optimized, so you're not wasting that footfall, you're not wasting that traffic. So if you can think of any more examples of when you're debating where to lay out things or where to position things online, that's exactly what EyeQuant will help you do.
Okay, perfect, nice, thanks a lot. Great.
Any more questions?
I got a pretty quick one. It's Andy from Good Left Science, Germany as well. So
hey, Andy.
Hey guys. So pretty quick one. As mentioned, I just during your presentation, I just signed up for the trial on your website. Is it pretty much the same, the free trial, as the link you will be circulating, or is it something different?
Yes. Yeah, you found it before anybody else, and it's been a very user-friendly experience there. Yeah, that's the right one.
That's the right one, right? Okay, good. So then we are good to go. We are D2C brand. Really looking forward to this topic. I think it could pretty much do some wonderful work and optimization for our brand. But we will sign up for the brand, and we will sign up for the trial, and then we take it from there. Yeah.
Brilliant. Really good to hear.
Very good. Thank you very much for the presentation.
No problem. Does anybody else have any other questions? And is everybody else based in Germany, just out of interest? Is it just no? Just by sheer coincidence?
No, it's Marty and myself, I guess. We're the guys from Germany. Yeah.
Great. Well, it's lovely to meet you.
I have a question if there's still time.
Yeah, perfect.
So all of the examples you're showing were kind of e-commerce or landing page situations where there is a very, very clear desired outcome. You know, there's one action that you kind of want your user to take. What differences do you have for once you're inside the system? So we have a platform, it's for competitive gamers to find teammates. Once they're in, there isn't necessarily one particular right action for them to take. So I was just wondering how EyeQuant would deal with, you know, an interface like that, where there's, you know, not one specific action we're looking to happen.
Okay, cool. So we have a number of gaming companies using EyeQuant during the development of the games so there's an element there's functionality within the platform that enables you to highlight key areas of a design to understand the amount of attention. So for product placement, for example, for understanding number 1, 2, and 3 desired outcomes, you can actually quantify that yourself within the platform. So I know I use pretty simple A, B, 1 call to action, but you can, as long as you understand what your design goal is, you've got your primary, secondary, you can still use this data to actually support your design hypothesis, right? You can say that, okay, so desired outcome would be 1, 2, and 3. What percentage, what likelihood of them being seen in version 1 versus 2, and you can directly compare them. So there's opportunity to actually quantify multiple call to actions within any given kind of design.
All right, thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
I have a super quick one. So again, most of the examples that you showed now, they were all kind of desktop based. So we're developing a mobile application. Would this kind of work as well to try and use the visual tracking stuff?
Yeah. So it's probably helpful if I talk about the data and how it's calculated. I've just realised that I've completely skipped over that. So the primary data was captured during eye tracking studies in the University of Osnabrück over many years. What we have then done is take that data and apply machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms to predict then where people are most likely to look. Within that data set, we have got data that is bespoke for mobile devices, for example. So within the platform, you can toggle a button and say mobile design. You can change the dimensions, and the scores are calculated based on that experience and that data. We also have different algorithms and outputs based on whether you are a new customer. So you'd be seeing a page for the first time versus a returning user. And the data for that is again based on a different experimental setup. So participants were asked to passively look at website designs and mobile apps, and then the predictions are calculated off that data, versus people were asked to complete a specific goal. So goal-orientated tasks, and then you've got a different algorithm, you've got a different algorithm based on that. So within the platform, you can choose mobile, tablet, you can choose whether it's a live landing page or a design mock-up. There's really lots of different use cases within the platform.
Sounds super exciting. I am looking forward to checking it out.
I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on. So that's the other thing as well. And within the platform, there'll be the intercom button at the bottom. So if you've got any feedback, any ideas as to how you'd like to use or interpret the data, share that with us. We've got a very inquisitive R&D team and product team that are always looking for customer feedback and ideas. So we'd love to hear exactly how you're getting on, or if you've got any recommendations with the insights as well. Any more? Andy looks like he's going to say something.
Oh yeah, just wanted to say thank you. I gotta go. So yeah, thanks. Absolutely a preferred topic of mine, by the way, in private life as well as in business life. So really eager to get more. How you guys, working, if it could be a potential synergy and use case for us. I think so right now, but we will see. Yeah, and thank you very much for your time.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Good day.
There's just a question in the chat.
Oh, there's a chat question, sorry.
I'll read it out for you if you like.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Greetings from cloudy London. In a startup of 12 multitaskers, who is the best person to take this on? Would it be the digital marketing manager?
It completely depends on what you're looking to achieve. So if you want to improve engagement with your digital marketing campaigns, so whether that's emails, even your ads, your landing pages, etc., then it's probably digital marketing. It's a job title that we see quite often. If you're looking to improve the usage and daily usage of your platform, then we often have product managers and UX specialists working on it from that perspective. But definitely, like I'm sending out emails, webinars, even PowerPoints you can analyze. So from a digital marketing perspective, I think you'd find it hugely valuable. But as I said, and pretty much anybody within, especially startups, right? You're wearing lots of different hats. So yeah, anybody creating content is going to be finding this really valuable. No problem. I think that's it then,
Cool.
Lee.
All right. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, thanks a lot, Lorna.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.